We jumped right into inner vibes because on this show, it's all about the inner self, right? The inner thoughts, the emotions, the trauma memories that we carry on for years and years and years. So tonight's show, we're going to be hearing from an expert who's going to tell us about herself and tell us how unresolved trauma. There's a lot of us walking around in from relationships to relationships with unresolved trauma. We move around, we move cities, we change our hair, we change our partners, we change church, we change cities, and the unresolved trauma is still there. So welcome tonight, Gina Ann. God bless you for joining us tonight. I know you've had the last week or two of your own journey, and but thank you for joining us tonight to just give us some perspective on the importance of what happens when we don't resolve trauma.
So good evening. My name is Jean Ann Moses. I'm a licensed mental health counselor here in Florida. My niche is grief and trauma. My business is called Peace from Pieces, LLC. So to Donna's point, I recently lost, my mother died. So I use the term died as opposed to passed away because when you say it, it makes it real and it helps to walk into that space of grief and loss. The loss of a parent is traumatic, no matter what stage of life you're in. Even if you're prepared, as I was, it still creates some, I know I'm smiling, but it creates some, all our childhood stuff shows up, right? All this childhood issues show up in relationships and what should have, could have happened. And having lost both my biological parents, there's also that piece of you that you're an orphan. And so that's another part of the equation that we don't talk about. That as adults, even when you talk about trauma, sometimes we're walking around in the world with some of that unresolved trauma from the loss of parents and the loss of relationships. And we never talk about them because we sweep it under the rug and we think it doesn't impact us and impact us in our day to day. Trauma looks different for all of us. Your trauma is not my trauma. What may be a big deal to me may not be, maybe nothing to you. Talk about trauma where somebody falls down, and a person may fall down and they just laugh and it's no big deal. And to me, I may fall down and it brings back a memory of something that happened. Maybe I got hit, maybe I got hurt when I fell down, and when that occurs, um, the memory that comes back creates a panic, and I may shut down, I may cry, I may recoil, as it were. So those are the things that shows up for us with unresolved. For some of us with unresolved trauma, especially today, especially I talk a lot about, especially after COVID. COVID was traumatic for all of us. And though COVID happened in 2020, beginning of 2019, end of 2019 to 2020, we're continuing to live day to day as if nothing has happened or life is going on. And it's showing up in a lot of illnesses that are occurring, right? A lot of trauma in the family where the families are falling apart because we've never talked about the pain and the loss or the deaths that we've faced, or the loss of employment or homes. And we keep going as if nothing is happening. And then we don't understand why the hip is hurting, right? Or the knee is hurting, or the back is hurting, or why the increase in fibromyalgia is one of the signs you will see, or mental illness. And we don't want to take the meds, or we're not talking about it because we want to act like nothing has happened. When we don't deal with it, the body keeps the score. The body tells its tale. It shows up in us in different forms of illness. It shows up in breakdown of relationships. It shows up in lack of sleep, anxiety, or depression. And depression looks different for us in different ways. A lot of times you're like, why are you so angry? I would say to our spouses, I'm married a minute just like you. Why are you so angry? And for men, it looks different than for women. A lot of times men are angry and we're looking at them and said, why is she so mad? And the truth is, he has no place to put it. And men looks different, and sometimes it shows up as anger. For us, sometimes we're tired or we make busy work. We're cleaning the house, we're doing everything, we're going from pillar to post, and we're suffering from the depression because we haven't dealt with the pain or whatever is going on in our life. I see that you want to ask me something. What? I know you've had a full day, but
You know, something interesting how it shows up as different ailments, right? And I don't know if people have put those two things together yet, that stress and the memories and all the emotions and chemicals that's going on in the body kind of becomes something, becomes a disease, become a disorder. Um, that's how important this is. Whatever it is that we're carrying inside can fester, as we would say back in the Caribbean, fester and then just create something that wasn't there before. Um, do you think are we seeing more and more people getting help, seeking counseling?
I think we're more open to it. You know, everybody's an armchair therapist. But what happens, which I think is a great thing, we have like the employee assistance program where people can do that. People doing things like BetterHelp, where they can text the therapist and have a conversation. People are reading more about it. It's more exposed, but still people are afraid because it means that you're, for lack of a better term, but this is how we speak in the world, right? You're crazy, but you're not. When you're talking through an issue, and you're able to express to someone that's safe. So whether it's a therapist, a social worker, even a coach, when you're able to talk to someone that's removed from the circumstance and you're able to tell your truth, right? It helps to release the anxiety, even maybe even one visit that you're able to say, you know what, I was really mad at my aunt and they came in the house and they did this and this and this and I can't stand her and this and so goes on, and you leave and you exhale and you're able to process another day. um a lot of time, oftentimes what has happened is that we've been raised, most of us, to keep everything a secret. I don't care what the generation is. I don't care how open we think we are. We still keep in secrets. And so the fear of going into therapy is that someone is going to tell your secret or they're going to tell on you. Yes, I'm a mandated reporter, but there are many other jobs that are mandated reporters, like the teachers, the nurses, the doctors, all the people that you go to. Mandated reporter means we have to report harm to elders or to the young, right? So that's what we're obligated to do if you're doing harm to them. So it's not that, oh my God, you don't have food, it's a secret. There's help to be had out in the world, right? There is people go to, well, I'm gonna go to church. And I love to say, and a friend of mine says, you hear it all the time. You can have Jesus and a therapist too. You can go to the church and you can listen to the
Sure.
past. Sorry?
T-shirt. You can have Jesus and a therapist.
Right? Because when you're talking through it, if you have a girlfriend, you're talking through it with your girlfriends, even sometimes your friends that are close to you, you're talking to them, but there's things sometimes you don't even want to share with them because sometimes they're so innocuous that you're afraid that if you say it, you're going to be looked at sideways. And no matter how much you love them, sometimes you just don't feel safe. And in therapy, it's a place to feel safe. Therapy is a place where you sit down and you work through the trauma. There may be, you may have post-traumatic stress disorder, right? A lot of people, there are people who in the medical field or just in the world at large, and things that have happened to them, that childhood memories that you don't even know, and it impacts them that they can't go to the store, like they can't go to Walmart, and they don't understand what's going on, or their memories keep flashing over and over again, and they're angry and they don't know why they're angry. But the trauma that happened, the long-term residual is sitting in them, and They need to talk to someone to process it, and that they're able to, so that they're not as reactive to what has happened, that they're able to see maybe the part they've played. A lot of times, maybe you were a child and you didn't have any say in the process, but you get to work through that place of what's going on. You may have secondary trauma where it didn't happen to you, but you know the story that's happened and it's a trigger because it happened to your sister, or you're in the field and your teacher and you see something happen to your student and you feel it. And so you carry it and it's a trigger for you. And we use that term so like everything is a trigger. This is a trigger, it's a trigger, this is a trigger, that it means that you're reacting to what has happened to you. And so therapy helps you to be able to work through it. You can go to the gym and exercise. You can work through it. But talking a lot of times helps you to give a different perspective oftentimes on how you view life.
Yes. Being from the Caribbean or Caribbean American heritage, counseling or therapy has always been a no-no. They always consider that you're mad and something is wrong. And so and it's probably also African American, we have a history of bottling things, and we talked about church. We're going to touch on church a lot tonight because there is a high percentage of sickness and sadness in the church. And I think people are afraid to go to church and then still say, I need help. I think there is some kind of stigma behind that. So they would prefer to just say, I'm okay. But we're here to tell you that, you know, you can do both. Like Jean said, you can do both. Um, we need you to be able to release these memories, these trauma memories, or the secondary. So that, I mean, I don't think I've heard of the secondary before, right? So now you grew up in a household and you saw something. It wasn't personal to you, but then you saw or experienced something that also affects you. Um, we touched on how these emotions, this negative chemicals imbalance that's going on inside of us can cause different sicknesses. And we live in a time where we have to be a little bit more responsible for our actions, for what we do, what we say, how we think, how we believe, what we eat, what we drink, our habits, everything. We have to like take accountability. And I always say, when you don't get help from your unresolved trauma, you're basically bleeding on people that did not hurt you, because you are going around different relationships or children, family members, friends, co-workers, and you're just bleeding on people that did not hurt you. And sometimes I think we want to say, I know she's gone through something, but that something could have been 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So at what point do we give that, just that excuse to say, she's been through trauma? So I think sometimes it's never easy, but seeking help, seeking counseling, um, doing the inner work. I always talk about the inner transformation work. We leave that out, and it's so important. Finding holistic practices. So of course, connecting with your therapist, somebody that you trust, because the last thing you want to do is you definitely don't want to put your business on Facebook or IG. That's what we see. That's the norm now. Everybody just gets out there and puts everything on social media as their therapist, and then they get all negative lash from it, right? And then that worsens the situation. So we want to encourage you tonight to, have seeing a therapy, let it be a norm. Let's erase that stigma that, you're crazy just because you seek help. No, you love yourself, so you seek help. You love your family, so you seek help for, for your secondary or whatever the trauma is. So I just want to thank you, Jeananne, for being able, like you said, mom just left you for or a couple weeks now to and here you are sitting and giving value to others.
Here's the thing, right? Sometimes you don't know you're going through, right? Because it is so normal. So you have a child, just to say, couple. The woman has carried the child, she's had the child, she doesn't know she's in postpartum depression. She then continues her life that way because it becomes a norm. You don't know that you don't know. You don't know that you didn't allow yourself to grieve because we don't normalize grief. A lot of times grief and trauma go in tandem. If you've never allowed yourself to grieve for yourself, how can you see the trauma that you're facing? You know it in name, but everybody goes through that, right? That's our conversation. There are women, and it happens a lot with couples, the women have had a miscarriage and they don't share it. They've had that miscarriage 20 years ago, but they've never spoke about it. But you see this woman like, why is she so angry? What's going on? She doesn't even know that she never mourned for her child. There's a woman, then she has a children, she's reactive to other stuff. But what's going on? She doesn't know. Sometimes people don't know they need the help. Sometimes it's because they're so on autopilot. They're so used to the struggle and keeping it together by a string, they don't know that they don't know. And so sometimes it's our job to give them grace, to hold their hand and help them to lead them to that place, to let them know that it's safe. Like I'm a therapist, I tell people I'm not for everybody. You know me, Donna, because I call a thing a thing. Like I'm talking nice, but I'll call a thing a thing because sometimes that's just how it has to be. Talking about my mother's death. I wanted my mother to die. Like it was done. My mother had dementia. She was not feeling well. It's not that I'm happy, joyous, and free, but I'm happy she's free. But one thing I learned this time that I didn't do when my father died is I gave myself permission to grieve. So I know if one day tomorrow I don't feel well, I may have to cancel my clients and I may have to sit in that place and mourn just for a hot minute. And then you move forward, right? But say you've never had the time or you can't afford to do that. I will say to you, and even in place of trauma, write it down. There's an activity that I love. It's called a resentment inventory, and it's really helpful even with trauma. So I'll just make up a story. You know what? I resent you death. I resent you death because you make me feel empty. I resent you because you took away someone I love. I resent you because I can't control you. You make me feel weak. You make me feel out of control. The part I play is I have to accept you because you're a part of life. The part I play is I can't control everything in my life. The part I play is I didn't honor you and respect you enough. The part I play is I didn't play a part. You just exist. When you sit down and do the work of whoever you resent, wherever the trauma sits, you resent it and you espouse it, right? You let it know. Here's how you did. This is how you made me feel. You're writing it for you. It's not to give them. But when you look at the part you play, you are now in control of the power for yourself. Getting rid of resentment, the person and the thing loses its power. And you become strengthened because you see where you stand in your place and how you can do the healing, the restoration. There are different things we do for trauma. One is cognitive behavioral therapy. I don't like to talk a lot about all the time. They'll be like, I want that. The therapist knows what works. Everything that's not for you, right? You go to the doctor, you tell the doctor, you know what? I want this medication. The doctor says, yeah, but no. You're your own doctor today. But that's why, but you can look up the things and you're like, I want this thing. And it may not be the right thing for you. But one of the things that the resentment inventory does in helping you with the trauma is the reframing. It's how we change what is being said. When I said what I hated about death or what I resented, how it made me feel, but the reframing was, I am not in control. I didn't accept it. I had to reframe it. Death didn't do anything to me. It was a story I've told myself about it. Right? And that's a lot of how we begin the healing process, right? It's about being ready to face the truth about ourselves and about what happened. You know, we don't like to talk about sexual trauma, especially in our culture. Well, I'm gonna say anywhere. We want to pretend it didn't happen. And sometimes you got to do that work to do the healing. And sometimes you don't want to say it in the family because you told someone and they poo-pooed you. And sometimes sitting down with a therapist and being able to speak your truth, it doesn't matter what anyone says. Your truth is your truth, and no one has permission to invalidate your truth and your lived experience. And in therapy, you get to be safe in that place. And sometimes, I'm going to go to another taboo. Sometimes you need some medicine. People say, my friend Jane, she took the medicine and made her sick. Well, maybe Jane got the wrong medication. Maybe Jane didn't follow the whole process. The brain controls the body. Taking medication sometimes helps to give the brain a chance to rest, to help to normalize, to give you a break. And that's why I don't like medicine. So if you're going to have surgery, are you going to do it without medication? Same thing. Give your body a chance to heal and repair. And it may mean medication. There's also medication that is non-medical, that is non-steroidal, that you can take, that the doctor can prescribe, that may be vitamin level that will help to normalize. But if there's a diagnosis that you need the healing from, then let's do that. Right? Let's not be ashamed of the past. You know, because some of those people that told you that you crazy and don't go to a therapist, trust that many of them sit in a therapist's office. You just didn't know. Because no one needs to know what drugs you take, who you speak to, because it's none of their business. It's your healing process.
Yeah, that's why I said we definitely have to take that stigma away from this process. And we have such a busy life. So people are not getting outside. They're not doing any fresh air. They're not, they don't have time for the sunlight. They don't have time for any yoga, meditation. We don't really, walks on the beach. We have such a busy schedule. And but like you said, the brain sometimes need a break. Um, we have to detox everything. We detox the mind, detox the heart, detox the soul, and finding what I do in the morning and is like you mentioned, the resentment. I do a forgiveness cleanse. And that's one page. I do it about 3 to 4 times a day. On the first half of the page, I say, forgive me, Father, for my sins, on behalf of my parents and their ancestors, forgive them. On behalf of the children of the father of my children and his ancestors, forgive them. On behalf of my children, future generations, on behalf of my husband, his ancestors, on behalf of my family, friends, etc., and their ancestors, forgive them. And then on the second half, I say, thank you. I do my gratitude. So I do my forgiveness and I do my gratitude. Thank you, Father. Thank you for my amazing life. Thank you, my happy, healthy, wealthy life, my exciting, thriving life, thriving relationships, thriving marriage, everything. So what you're doing is you're writing these words out, and you're also seeing it and you're reading it and you're absorbing it into your mind, heart, and soul. And these are also holistic therapeutic, alternatives. And in addition to you seeking your counselor, of just you being able to keep peaceful on a norm now, right? We get rid of that unresolved trauma. And that takes a while, because 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, sometimes longer, that we see people and holding grudges, resentment, unforgiveness, judgment within family. I mean, right now with the election that passed, we're seeing a lot of breakup of family and friendship, and people are going to be carrying more things in their heart. And we don't understand that when we do carry these emotions, these negative, destructive emotions in our hearts, that it just, whatever chemicals or whatever the body does, and it just filters out. Now we've got this, and we've got this, and we've got this, we've got this knee pain, we've got, headaches. So it's important for us. You can never be too busy for you, because without health, we don't have anything. Health is wealth. I know we've been programmed to say, oh, having this money, getting this bag, getting this. Your health is wealth. Your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health is wealth. So we want you to normalize seeking help. If you've noticed yourself, if people have said, why are you always so ornery or miserable? And there might be something that happened to you a long time ago, and you just think that you're just like this. No, sweetheart, you're not just like this. You're holding on most likely to something. So seek help. Gina, tell us where people can find you.
I can put my phone number up. I have a link, Piece from Pieces, where I'll give it to you to reach out, but my phone number I'll put up. I'm gonna say something too. Go to the doctor. People don't want to go to the doctor. And I'm telling you, your therapist and your medical doctor work in tandem, but I really believe in that. A lot of times we miss the piece with like not getting blood work, right? And there's the blood work and the person doesn't get it. And you may be sick because your medication, your numbers are off. Your thyroid may be messed up, and that's why you're not feeling well. Or for men, the testosterone, our estrogen levels. I want people to really take care. 26 Health is out there. If you don't need it, Mental Health Association of Central Florida, you can get help for free. Shepherd's Hope. There's so many organizations out there that are able to get help for us with when you can't afford it. I also do work with LBJ Behavioral, where we offer for people who cannot afford it, do not have insurance, underinsured, that you can get mental health for free, right? Um, but 26 Health, they can work payment plans and do things to support the community to help you. Psychiatric nurse practitioners. I do work with growth therapy where there's so much help out there for you. don't say don't have insurance. And let me tell you something, employee assistance program is something that you can use. And the employee assistance program, if you live in a home with someone, even if you don't work for a job and they have a company and the company has that, you can get help. Sometimes they give you 3 to 6 sessions for free. There's some place I know they give them 12 sessions for free through the employee assistance program. So there's no excuse for you not to get help. And for every person in the home, each person can get help, including the children. And so we're talking adults, but we're forgetting the babies, right? You have these adolescents that are wilding out. You're having a problem they're not understanding. And sometimes it's us as the adults, but listen to them. Sometimes they need to talk to someone that's just not you, mom and dad. Sometimes they need someone that can hear them in a way that they can't be seen or heard. They have their own traumas that they don't always share with you. Get your kids help. Don't just think they're being disrespectful and they're just doing stuff. Sometimes they just need to be seen in a way because life is happening. We can't see them, even the little ones, the littles especially. This is a different generation. Their technology, they're exposed to so much more than we have ever been exposed to. They know a lot more than we do. So listen when they ask you for help. They don't know. Sometimes they don't know. So don't just think they're being rude and out of order. Hear them before it's too late.
Wise words. We want you to normalize your inner health. We want you to normalize your therapy, having a therapist, having someone that a safe place. Because sometimes our girlfriend or guy friend, social media, that's not our safe place, right? Because we've sometimes we've had girlfriends that we thought, oh, we told them everything, and then next thing you know, that relationship breaks down, and now that's a problem. So have a safe place, but normalize, because these trapped emotions are causing dis-ease in your body, diseases in your body. So we have to work on that, and then we have to manage. We always talk about managing your vibes. We have to manage your thoughts. You have to manage your emotions. It's not a woo-woo thing. It's really for your benefit. It's for your health and wellness. It's for your longevity of life. And then how you show up. You're going to show up as such a better person to yourself, to your family. People are going to look at you like, what happened to you? Because you seek therapy. So do that for yourself, for your community, for your household, your coworkers, but do it for you so that you can find peace from whatever it is that you've been holding on to all by yourself all these years. Seek peace, seek love. All right. So that is our show for tonight. We want to thank you for joining us on this Inner Vibes podcast where we talk everything inner, mind, heart, and soul, because it all matters. The mind, the body, and the soul all bound. We can't just focus all on church and then forget about our health and our peace of mind. We need to balance it. Jeanette?
I want to say one thing, and this is something you speak the gratitude, but today I want you all to say something. I forgive myself because it starts with forgiving of self, no matter what it is. When you start to forgive yourself, even when it's difficult, I forgive me, I am enough, and I love me, the healing starts. I love this, and this was a real part of my healing process. I forgive me from the foundation of time, from the beginning of time, because if I can't forgive me, how can I forgive you? How can I get healing? So I forgive me, I love me, I am enough. I forgive me. I forgive you, Jean Ann. You are enough. You're more than enough.
incorporate that, you all. I see people who are online saying, yes, I forgive me. They're repeating. So incorporate those that into your daily. Carve out 30 minutes before the family wakes up, and just do that little write-in. I start out with um for Father, forgive me. And then I ask for my parents. And I ask that for my children's father, because I also go after generational curses, and I don't want any foolishness coming on to my children. So I go that extra step with asking. And then for my husband, so also praying for your partners. I didn't know. Nobody ever told me I was even supposed to be doing all this for husband. So, but it's important for your relationships, for your marriages, for your children, praying for them, protecting them, doing that inner work for them. But you being the highest and best version of yourself is how you can change others around you. But love you, be kind to you. Today if you follow my page at Inner Vibes with a Z Consultant, I talked about love you, be kind to you, be peaceful to you, be good to you, be forgiven to you, like we just mentioned. It all begins with you. Change always begins with you. And then everybody and everything will kind of just follow that pattern. You are unique. You are special. You are loved. Amen. With that, we want to say God bless. Take some time for peace and love, for patience, for gratitude. Get rid of those emotions. When you feel them come up, don't freak out. Just observe them. Get in touch with a therapist such as Jean Ann. Find balance, find love, and we wish you all the best. God bless.
Great show, ladies. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you
night.
very much.